Occupancy rates. This is kind of small, but hopefully you can see it better on your screen. Basically, HUD likes us to have an occupancy rate of 3% or less. Right now, portfolio-wide, we're running at about 4.5. Always trying to get it lower, of course. The one major disturbing site would be College Hill. We've got 78 vacancies. That's a 15% occupancy rate, vacancy rate, which is completely unsatisfactory. We're putting money at it now. We've had a lot of turnover, and basically we need to put some more money into turning the units faster and keeping up with the people who are leaving the development. So it's just a matter of time before we can bring it down. Interestingly, when we opened the HCBP lottery a few years ago, because the waiting list had been closed for so long, people had no options during that closed period. They went to public housing. So when we opened Section 8, there was an exodus from public housing. So we went to full utilization in our HCBP program, and our vacancies dropped off. I mean, people just left. So we've spent the last probably 18 months trying to catch up. Almost there, but not quite yet. Capital Fund, as I said, this is annual funding for capital improvements in the public housing portfolio and other expenses related to the administration of LIPH. And I smile because HUD allows us to take 20% for management operations, and especially during our really difficult financial days, we had to take every penny of it. But on Wednesday mornings in my office, we sit and have a development meeting, and the development guys are always saying, you don't get 20% this year, you get a lot less for operations, we need it for bricks and mortar. So it's a push me, pull you. I will tell you, in 2012, we're only getting just over 3.3 million. That represents a 7% decrease from 2011 and a 14% decrease from 2010. So as you can see, the dollars that are usually designated for bricks and mortar are tumbling down. Mike Saban of our development department did this graph for me, and I think it's really good because the way he worked this graph is it's by the number of units we have. Certainly if we dispose of units or we knock down units, we wouldn't expect to get a unit for unit capital fund allocation for spending on our other units because they don't exist anymore. But he did this by a per unit. So you can see for our existing units, as we're moving forward, it's not just because we're demolishing units, it's because the funding per unit continues to decrease. What is our response to this? And I think this is why both people in the audience and the council and others have had hearty discussion about it. We, the Housing Authority, cannot just sit back and wait for some magical bundle of money to fall from the sky. So what we have been doing, and it didn't just start 3 or 4 months ago, we have been doing this long before I arrived in 2007, and we do it every single Wednesday morning in our office. We sit and try and figure out how are we going to preserve these portfolios with the shrinking resources. And we found a couple of ways to do it, and I'm going to show you our actual output. We look to the 9% and 4% low-income housing tax credits provided by THDA in Tennessee. We look to the American Reinvestment and, ARA, the American Reinvestment and Recovery, I knew they're here, thank you guys, competitive grants. We look to replacement housing factor funds, and for your information, replacement housing factor funds are funds that flow long after, say, a Poss Homes is demolished. At one time they flowed for up to 10 years, but they're funds to help you redevelop, revitalize, build anew in your community after you do take public housing down. We look to energy performance contracts where you engage a company. We work with Honeywell. They find investors and they put in energy efficiency things, faucets, lights, things in the development. And with the savings on the amount of money we have to spend for utilities, we're able to service the debt. We have actually spent, I believe, 15 million. We've been able to put in 15 million in improvements because of the EPCs. Other funding alternatives, we have an absolute obligation to continue looking to them. There are a couple pending right now. HUD has a choice neighborhood planning grant application on the street that's due later this spring, where the grant would focus on up to 300,000, focusing on a distressed public housing portfolio, the people in that development and in the neighborhood, and the neighborhood itself. The county applied last year. We were not fortunate enough to receive it, but there is another round. RAD. RAD came out last Thursday, and what I know about it, you put in a thimble, but it's Rental Assistance Demonstration. I sat in for a 1-hour webinar yesterday, and what this is, it's a proposal by HUD that's out for public comment, whereby a housing authority could take a public housing development and turn it into vouchers. And usually there's a bright line between public housing and the voucher program, and you can't use public housing money for vouchers. This blurs that line and allows you to use some capital fund and possibly some subsidy during the period of transition. Lastly, purpose-built. This was brought to us back in the late fall. We're looking at it, and as I have said consistently, we must look at it. Our job every single day that we wake up is to look at our public housing portfolio and figure out what we can do for people of low income in the community. So yes, we're looking. Have all our questions been answered? No. Have we made any commitments to it? No. But we are looking, and we owe that not just to our residents, but the community as a whole. Okay, let me give you a little update and then I'll let you ask questions. Sorry, it's taking longer than I thought. Harriet Tubman, we got approval in December to dispose, not demolish, dispose, i.e. sell the units at Tubman. Beginning of the year, 254 were occupied, 39 have relocated to other LIPH units, 30 have accepted vouchers and have actually leased in the housing, 12 others have left either through abandonment, the final reward, or evictions, and 173 have yet to be relocated. I believe 65 of those 173 are in the pipeline for inspections for HCV. Most of the folks elected to get a voucher. Emma Wheeler Homes. This is one of our large sites, which in our planning on those Wednesday mornings, we're hoping to preserve. We have put, so far, 1.9 million capital funds to improve the site. We've done the sewers, we've done the roofs. We are beginning the process of rehabbing 300 of the 340 total units at the site. 40 were done a while ago, so we're leaving them alone. We started the resident relocation work. The cost on this right now, we're estimating from 7.5 to 9.5 over the course of 4 to 5 years. However, next week we'll be talking to Honeywell to see if there's an EPC, an energy performance contract that might be a possibility to bring energy efficiency to the site and give us some extra needed dollars for the repairs. The villages at Alton Park, that's the granddaddy number, 64,817. You can see that you were an active participant in that with your contribution from the city of 11.5. The Oaks at Camden. This was the Reverend Johnson. We brought it back with 57 townhomes. This was a 9% low-income housing tax credit deal. You'll see the RHF, that's the funding that flows when we demolish a site or we dispose of units, and you'll see there was close to $1 million in capital fund for TDC of 8.9. Greenwood Terrace, actually, let me just go back. This property is actually managed by Penrose Management Company, as is Hope 6. We don't manage these two. Greenwood Terrace is up on D Drive. This is 98 units before public housing, and now they're 98 units of Light C and public housing. You can see the number, 6.4 million total development cost. We actually continue to manage this property. Okay, here's ARA, there it is. Recovery and Reinvestment Act funding in 2009. We received kind of a formulaic award of $6.2 million, and we did comprehensive rehab at, if you were looking at Mary Walker Tower from the front, the left tower. We went into all the units, we did the elevators, we did the plumbing. Kudos to Green Spaces, they gave us at no cost a green roof, which is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, you can sit in the units and see your garden grow, and the residents have really enjoyed it. In addition, we used some of that money to, and we did some unit turns for extraordinary maintenance that we otherwise couldn't have afforded that summer. Opening in the spring.